Hello, my fellow geeks. I'm Mark, and today on Elite Geek, we're going to talk about a firmware upgrade for the Photon Mono-X. This is January 2021, so depending on when you watch this, may or may not be relevant, but we're going to walk through whether you should upgrade the firmware on your Photon Mono-X, and I'm going to walk through the process of how to do it because it's kind of weird. Okay, first I'm going to show you the results of the upgrade because they are huge. So it doesn't get much clearer than this. This is a print that I did with Anti Aliasing 8, and this was done with the older firmware, and this was after my firmware upgrade with the exact same Anti Aliasing. Like, look at that. It's a humongous difference. I think Anti Aliasing just didn't work at all with the old firmware, and they basically turned it on. Like, it's shocking how different that is. This is actually a model that I am producing for EliteGeekMinis.com. This I just made on a lark just because I wanted to see what it looked like. Huge. There's the regular size. This is what I made. Anyway, also some of my artifacts are gone. You can see on my earlier firmware, I had some lines that showed up on here and they're just gone, even though these were in the exact same place on the model. There you can see just overall, just huge, how much of a difference it makes. It's just, this is glorious. You can see the same thing on his sword arms. Look at the left arm is with basically anti-aliasing off, and then the finish on it after it was turned on, it's just shocking. So if this doesn't convince you to want to turn on anti-aliasing with a firmware upgrade, I don't know what will. Unfortunately, there is no changelog with the firmware, so we really don't know what they did, but these results make it all worth it. So that was just for this specific version that came out recently. But there's going to be more firmware updates in the future, so this could be relevant at any point. So the best way to get there is go to the Photon Mono-X resin printer page. There's a link down below that'll take you here. Scroll down to the bottom, and not quite to the bottom, you have firmware. So you have Photon Mono-X. Now what we've installed is 347. That's what we're going to be doing today. This process should be exactly the same with whatever version is here in the future. So if you click this, it will take you actually to a Google Drive share, and it's monox347.rar. If you haven't done a lot of computer work, you may not be familiar with .rar. It's kind of like a .zip, but it's less proprietary. So this will just sit and spin for you probably. Then you have to go over here and click download. I'm in Firefox. This could be slightly different depending on your browser. You do not have to sign in, but you click and download, and then you'll save the file. And we want to save it somewhere on your computer. So this just downloaded to my default download folder. You can see I've downloaded this several times. So here, I'm going to copy it somewhere where we can work with it. Okay, so now we have this file here, but if I double click it, it's not really gonna do anything. So next, what you need, if you don't have this already, I'm gonna recommend 7zip.org download for extracting this. So there will be lots of windows here. I'll link this down below too, along with the firmware link. So for your operating system, you want to download the appropriate version, and this latest version, which is from 2019, is probably fine. I have the 64-bit version loaded. Just load this like any other program. I've already got it loaded. Now what that'll do is back to this file, I can right click and go to 7zip, and what I like to do is go to extract to and then the folder name. This will automatically make a folder with the files in it. So now we've got a folder and another folder with all of our files. Now this readme will actually give you the instructions here. It's very, very simple, but I'm going to show you here in just a minute. What you want to do is take these two files and put them on your USB stick from your printer the same way as you do your sliced files, and then take it to the printer. Then what you're going to want to do is print these files. Print the longer name file first. You can see I've got it here, update firmware, and you're just basically doing the same thing with this bin file. You print it, it will update the firmware, and your printer will reboot. It'll update, it takes a minute. It doesn't take all that long. I've skipped the waiting, and now it's back up. It was like 30 seconds. So now it'll come back up, and you can go and print the next file. Now we go to print again, and we go and find the second file, the shorter file, the .bin, and do the exact same thing. Print, confirm, it'll update the firmware, and then it will reboot. This again will take 30 seconds. I think this one takes just a little bit longer than the first one. It's not a big deal. Now, just to confirm that it worked, go into System and Info, and you should see version 347 or whatever version it was you installed. If you found this useful, leave a like and a comment down below. Let me know if you found a changelog for this or how much of a difference this made in your printing after doing the firmware upgrade. Or if you've run into any issues, I want to know that too, so I can include all those details down in the description. If you found it very useful, there's multiple ways you can support the channel. We have Buy a Coffee setup, and Patreon is probably coming with options. We can talk about that in the future. If you are interested in this or other miniature models, you can find those on EliteGeekMinis.com, and I have lots of videos here to help you with your printing and reviews of more models in the works right now. There's lots of printers going in the other room trying to figure out what's the best option. We'll have a full ranking of those on EliteGeek.net. But with that, remember, until next time, if you're going to be a geek, be an Elite Geek. I can't wait to see this thing painted. Oh my gosh, this is going to look amazing painted. Even the little one.